A Belarusian pro-democracy activist fears for his safety as a court in Serbia is due to decide whether he can be extradited to Belarus.
Spanish olive oil producers are accusing supermarkets of inflating prices by taking advantage of production shortages.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said a large-scale attack on Hezbollah positions in Lebanon is not the end of the story. Israel launched a wave of airstrikes across southern Lebanon on Sunday in what it said was a preemptive strike. Hezbollah said it had launched hundreds of rockets and drones to avenge the killing of one of its top commanders last month.
חיזבאללה ניסה לפנות בוקר לתקוף את מדינת ישראל ברקטות ובכטב"מים. אנחנו הנחינו את צה"ל לבצע מתקפת מנע עצימה להסרת האיום. צה"ל השמיד אלפי רקטות קצרות טווח, והן כולן היו מיועדות לפגוע באזרחינו ובכוחותינו בגליל.
The leader of Hezbollah said the group's attack on Israel in retaliation for the killing of Fuad Shakur in Beirut last month had been delayed to give Gaza ceasefire talks a chance.
هو الخشية من رد محور المقاومة وتداعيات الردود والذهاب إلى حرب إقليمية ومشاكل. بلشوا يحكوا إنه في وقف العدوان ووقف إطلاق نار وطولوا بالكم إلى آخره. بالحقيقة نحن تريثنا. طبعا لم نقل لأحد أننا سنتريث، ولكن حقيقة الأمر أننا تريثنا حتى نعطي الفرصة لهذه المفاوضات.
Two Egyptian security sources said that the latest round of ceasefire talks in Cairo have ended without an agreement, with neither Hamas nor Israel agreeing to any of the compromises proposed by mediators. An anonymous US official said talks will continue at lower levels in the coming days in an effort to bridge remaining gaps. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said his forces have seized more territory in Kursk as they advance deeper into the Russian region. In his nightly video address, he said Ukrainian troops had advanced up to 3 kilometers and taken control of 2 more settlements. Speaking to the press in Kyiv earlier on Sunday, Zelensky said the Kursk incursion was launched to stop Russia from occupying the Ukrainian cities of Kharkiv and Sumy.
А наступний їх крок був, і вони вже все підготували на півночі нашої держави. Якраз з боку міста Суми, з боку Курської області. І різниця в тому, що ми превентивно це зробили, щоб вони не захопили наше місто. І ми раніше це змогли зробити.
Those comments come after a British national working for Reuters was killed in a Russian strike on a hotel in Kramatorsk. The body of safety advisor Ryan Evans was found under the rubble on Sunday after a missile hit the Hotel Sapphire. Meanwhile, residents in Ukraine's Sumy region just over the border from Kursk are subject to almost constant shelling by Russian forces. Ukrainian military and regional authorities said on Sunday that Russian attacks on northern, eastern and southern Ukraine had killed at least 4 people and injured 37 on Sunday. But despite Zelensky's claim that the Kursk incursion was supposed to create a buffer zone to prevent attacks on Ukraine, Russia has continued to pummel border regions. Solo protesters have gathered outside the French embassy in Moscow to call for the release of Telegram founder Pavel Durov, who was arrested in France on Saturday. One protester carried a sign calling on the French not to follow in Putin's footsteps and to respect freedom of speech. He was later detained by police officers. Activists in Russia have tried to skirt the ban on unauthorized protests by staging single-person pickets, but even they're punishable by a fine or up to 15 days in prison. Russian-born Durov was arrested after landing in his private jet in an airport outside Paris. The arrest follows an investigation into the lack of moderators on Telegram. Police allege that allows criminal activity such as drug dealing and paedophilia networking to take place unhindered on the app. Telegram has become one of the leading social media platforms, ranking alongside giants like Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp and Instagram. However, it still doesn't meet the requirements of the European Union, which has led to it being temporarily suspended in some member countries such as Spain. Prosecutors in Germany have released the name of the 26-year-old Syrian man suspected of killing 3 people in a stabbing attack in the city of Solingen on Friday. The man has been identified as Issa al-H. His surname has been withheld in line with German privacy laws. On Sunday, he was flown by helicopter to appear in the Federal Court of Justice in Karlsruhe for his first hearing following his arrest on Saturday. The Federal Public Prosecutor's Office said he'd been remanded in custody on suspicion of murder and membership of the so-called Islamic State terrorist group. The German daily newspaper Bild said on Saturday night that Al-H approached officers on the street in Solingen just after 11 p.m. local time to turn himself in. His arrest has sparked relief among many of Solingen's 160,000 residents.
Sehr gut finde ich, dass sich die Person entweder gestellt oder dass sie zumindest festgenommen wurde. Entscheidend und was vielleicht wirklich interessant ist, warum.
Natürlich beruhigt einen, dass er sich angeblich da jetzt gestellt hat, aber ich bin sprachlos und total erschüttert.
German media reported that Al-H's asylum claim had been denied and that he was supposed to have been deported last year. At a memorial church service on Sunday, some residents said they were afraid the far right would use the stabbing to whip up hatred of migrants.
Of course, we are very afraid that the right wing is getting more and more power, and that's definitely not the way. Of course, we have to ask some hard questions, but, racism is never the answer.
The attack happened on a central square in Solingen during the Festival of Diversity, an event to mark the 650th anniversary of the city. It was supposed to run until Sunday, but was subsequently called off.
Foreign politics, including the war in Ukraine, have been dominating the political discussion ahead of 3 East German state elections in September. Both far-left and far-right parties are demanding negotiations with Russia and the halting of weapons deliveries to Ukraine. Political scientist Dr. Carsten Koschmieder says not directly.
Die 3 Bundesländer haben nicht direkt Einfluss auf die Außenpolitik oder auf die Bundesregierung. Die können nicht einen Antrag stellen, der dann angenommen wird. Und auch die 3 Länder zusammen sind ja noch eine kleine Minderheit im Bundesrat beispielsweise. Aber das Problem ist eher, die anderen Parteien sehen ja, was passiert. Die sehen ja, okay, BSW und AfD bekommen viele Stimmen. In Ostdeutschland ist das Thema Krieg ganz wichtig. Die Ostdeutschen sind viel skeptischer, was die Sanktionen gegen Russland angeht, was die Hilfe der Ukraine angeht. Und was jetzt passiert, ist, dass beispielsweise der sächsische Ministerpräsident, der zur CDU gehört und der im Bundesvorstand der CDU ist, also ein einflussreicher CDU-Politiker, der sagt seit Wochen, seit Monaten, wir müssen uns mit Russland wieder vertragen, wir müssen wieder russisches Gas kaufen, wir müssen die Ukraine fallen lassen, wir dürfen der Ukraine nichts mehr geben, wir sollten ukrainische Flüchtlinge rausschmeißen und so weiter. Also wenn wir jetzt beispielsweise ein sehr starkes Wahlergebnis für die AfD in den 3 Bundesländern sehen, dann werden auch die demokratischen Parteien dann sagen, okay, woran liegt das und was müssen wir vielleicht ändern? Und dann wird sicherlich einigen einfallen, oh, die AfD ist ja gegen die EU und gegen die EU in dem aktuellen Zustand, also müssen wir jetzt auch pöbeln und gegen die EU was sagen.
Neither the far-right party Alternative for Germany nor far-left party Sarah Wagenknecht Alliance can govern alone, as both parties are expected to draw well below the required 50% of votes needed to form an absolute majority government. However, if both parties together managed to win more than 50%, then it would be impossible to form a government without them, at which point either party could start making strong demands at the negotiation table. Demands that are likely to include the halting of weapons deliveries to Ukraine. Liv Stroud in Berlin for Euronews.
Heat waves and drought have been crippling olive oil production in recent years. Spain, the world's largest olive oil provider, expects production to drop by 50% in 2024. On top of creating a perfect breeding ground for counterfeit products, shortages sent prices through the roof. A study by farmer association Unió Llauradora argues supermarkets increased margins over producers by 75% over last year.
El preu en origen dels nostres productors ha pujat un 3%, però, sin embargo, el consumidor està pagant un 59% més en les grans línies.
Supermarkets deny inflating prices.
L'oli d'oliva verge s'ha mantingut per baix de 10 euros durant tot el 2024.
Consumer organizations say prices remained high despite the complete elimination of VAT on olive oil in Spain since July the 1st.
The Paralympic torch has arrived in France after making its journey under the English Channel from the UK village of Stoke-Mandeville. French torch bearers met their British counterparts at the Channel Tunnel's halfway point, among them Lara Mills, the great-granddaughter of Sir Ludwig Guttmann, founder of the Paralympic movement. The 24 French relay runners then resumed their journey with a flame toward France, emerging from the tunnel into Calais. The flame was then split into separate torches, which have embarked on their tour of their first 12 host cities along the perimeter of France. Various activities and parasport tester sessions have been organized alongside the torch relay in these cities. And in the capital, a special 13th torch was lit on the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Paris.